What is up, my loves? Welcome back to another episode of the Fully Alive podcast. My name is Stephanie Ellsperman. I am your host. I'm a coach, speaker, and entrepreneur here to transform the way that you see purpose in this modern world. If you are new here, welcome. I am so happy to have you here. This is the place where we dive into all things high performer mindset, activating your soul's purpose, and impact driven entrepreneurship so that you can create a movement that magnetizes millions, baby. Are you ready? Let's dive in. In this episode, I have an incredibly special guest on. You know her, you love her, Laura Patricia Martin, one of my closest friends. She and I do a segment called Unplugged that we post on both of our podcasts. And really, where this came from is we were having some FaceTimes like you do. And we said, why not make these FaceTimes public? And really just peel back the curtain on the true conversations that we're having behind the scenes on what it's like to be an entrepreneur in this day and age, what it's like to have sometimes an intense and overactive and beautiful high performer mind, and really what it's like to create in this world with play and with fun and being fully unhinged. One thing about her and I is that when we get together, we have the goofiest, silliest, yet deepest time. I'm sure you all can understand this, especially if you have close friends in this world. Like, there is just an otherworldly magic. We always say we create a vortex when we're together. And so I'm excited to bring you this episode where I was actually just in St. Pete visiting her for almost a week. And so we get into the nitty gritty of our entire trip. We do the recap, what we did, what we liked, what we didn't like, our biggest takeaways, and really how you can start setting up. If you ever want to set up a mastermind weekend with your friends, we're going to take you through exactly what we did to really create space to not only connect emotionally, but also to dive into our businesses, to crack our own codes on the X factors that we bring into the world. And of course, to play and have a lot of freaking fun. So we tell you exactly how we set it up. And not only that, but we really go into the power of sisterhood and the transformation that comes through this element of play and breaking out of these societal roles or who you feel like you should be to be an authority in your business or your career. If you feel like you should be buttoned up, if you feel like you should be this specific version of yourself to be quote unquote taken seriously in the world, we talk about breaking all of those rules to really bring out your true nature and therefore your magnetism that creates your movement. So it's a little bit unhinged. It's a little bit fun. It's a little bit deep. I cannot wait to share this with you. And let's head into the podcast episode. Lori just had some beautiful spirit fingers. That's my spirit fingers from when we watched Bring It On. I was bringing it back. Just watched Bring It On.
Welcome to the show and my spirit fingers. This is my favorite segment on the podcast where it's unplugged, unhinged, two friends that come together to share the reality of what's happening behind the scenes as a high performer, as a high achiever, of leading these movements, of dating, of being in relationship, of health, all this kind of stuff, because we realized on this journey, we both have our separate platforms, our separate podcasts. It's like, how can we let more people in? Like, we want to just help people be seen in the reality of building something and the truth of the matters and the depth of it. And that's actually how Steph and I met. We met in a mastermind 2 years ago ish, kind of, maybe.
Is it? Year and a half? Wait. Yeah, about like a year.
November. Yeah. We met at a mastermind and then we met in person at the mastermind and we're like, you're dark and squiggly. Be my friend. And at first we didn't know where it was going to go. And now it's starting to like really land, and people don't know this, but we've actually only met in person 3 times, but we talk every day. But
you know, those internet best friends you have,
it just kind of happened, you know, and it works. And we share that journey. And I think more people need to hear conversations like the ones we have, like, you know, being able to hold the capacity of the full human and the depth of that. And there's something that happens like when Steph and I are together where it's just this like vortex that cracks you the frick open. And she was just here actually for a week, and we wanted to break open what happened. Like, we both just like, we're like, what just happened? And we went back to like our opposite lives, and we're like, holy freaking pickles, this is extraordinary. How do we bring this to people and share what's going on? So we're gonna dive in here.
Amazing. Yeah,
Yay.
it was interesting because I know, and I remember telling you this, that when I was going down there for a week, so context, like I just went down to St. Pete for a week-ish, maybe a day less than a week for Laura and I to hang out. And yes, like it was, of course, like girls trip, like let's have fun, let's play. But also, I remember telling you, like, I know that there's something that's going to be activated when we're together because just given the fact that even when we're, FaceTiming multiple times a week, there's always these activations that happen, which is honestly what led us to this podcast where we were like, we should just record our FaceTimes, shall we? And led us to the podcast. But then we saw each other in person in January for New Year's. And it was, I think, 3 days. But in that 3 days, there was something that, again, activated. And not only activated, I think one of the biggest things and one of the biggest blessings that I receive from you and that we create together is that there's so much fun and playfulness and cracking up and just laughter that is, to me, it's medicine for my heart. Like, I think when we're together, my sleep is so shitty. We stay up too late. I'm not on my routines, yet I feel more alive than ever because there's just the medicine of just laughter and play that we have together. But not only that, but I know I always come back a changed leader. I know there's always something, whether it's in my own genius, in my business, or how I see my relationship, that is always completely shifted. And I noticed over New Year's, when that happened in 3 short days, I was like, what is going to happen over like 6 days, almost a week of being together? And I knew there was going to be something in it, but I don't think I could ever fully grasp what we received from this time
I don't
together.
think I don't think we still do.
I
It's just
think
like
maybe
the
in 20 years
continuous
we will.
unfolding. It's so fun too, because it is just this. It's funny because we both have different perceptions of like what we get from the other person, but it still cracks us onto this like same path that's going side by side, but in different ways. Like
Yeah.
it moves forward in such different ways, and we just learn from each other and we grow. And I don't know, it's like a permission slip of being the full human,
Yeah.
right? Like we get to be weird as shit, which stay tuned for all the weird ass content that just naturally flows from us being together. And like we were able to structure things and we're able to go play, like even that day on the beach where it's like, okay, let's go to the beach, let's go play, let's mastermind it. That just
Yeah.
naturally unfolded. Like let's put together this idea, let's build this thing. Like it's just we need more of that. And I know even from our friendship, I was noodling on this where I'm like, okay, there's like a sequence of when you come into my life where when I first met you in person in Florida, I was struggling to let go of Anchor Tattoo Man so I could date Sexy Man. There was like this like pillar. It's always with the men for me, but it's like I was struggling to let go of that there at the retreat. And I was like bouncing back and forth, navigating that. You and I deepened our friendship when me and Sexy Man broke up. And I was like, what way is up? Like, I don't fucking know what that way is. And then in January, God gifted you here right before what happened with that Viking. And then this time with this one doesn't have a name. It's just like you come at these times when it's like, and usually it could be like, oh, let me look at this and process it. But it's not even that. It's like, I'm so in my life, I forget that stuff exists. And I don't need to process it because body will naturally heal itself. And like that childlike play just comes out when we're together. And I think that's what the healing thing is, because relationships are all about, the inner workings of your inner child and healing that. And sometimes we get so wrapped up in this like space of like, let me talk about origin story and why this is happening and what have you, versus the way you and I navigate things is like, can I just go re-enter the joy of my life and see how that is actually the most healing medicine that I can have? And I was noodling on this where I was like, how interesting that those sequence of events in my life were not like coming up. And then it's like, here's Steph. And like, let's go play and let's go do. And so I'm curious for you, like, what was the trip like now that you're home and you're moving back into your life? Your biggest takeaways?
Biggest takeaways. Well, first of all, I love what you're saying around like the play really is the medicine. It's like we can get so wrapped up. And I think one thing that we talk about as being high performers is that we get very in our minds. I don't know if any of you listening can resonate with that, but you know, the double-edged sword of being someone who has really high goals and ambitions for your life is that you also have a very overactive mind, cute little mind. Your brain is so powerful, but it can also sometimes be used against you. And when we get into this personal development work, it can get very heady sometimes around like, why did this happen? And now I have to reprogram all of these things. But when we're together, there's just a rawness and a truth that comes through, honestly, being like fucking weirdo. It's like, one thing
Literally.
Laura and I did right before this podcast was we pulled up our photos from the trip to like refresh on what the heck happened. You know what's in front of me?
What?
Is the first day when I was there, when we went to the bar and you go, I'll take 2 shots, please. Oh, the juice bar.
Oh,
by
the
the
juice
way.
bar. Snorted that.
At some point we'll release this video, but it's a fucking hilarious video that we have cried laughing about. And I do think there's just such a truth that happens when you're in that childlike play and so fully immersed in your life that it just cuts right deep into who you actually are, such that all these things don't necessarily need to be reprogrammed right now in this moment. It'll happen over time, but you get to just be in who you are. And to me, it can be the most healing and most magnetic thing ever. So thank you for sharing that. And as far as my biggest takeaways, well, honestly, before we get into takeaways, I feel like we're being kind of cryptic. I want to let you guys in on what we actually did and how we set up our week, because we went into it with the intention of like girls' weekend, but also masterminding, because Laura and I, stay tuned. We do have something in the works for you guys that's going to be absolutely fucking revolutionary for 2024 and beyond. Like, you guys don't even know. It's going to be so fun. And so we went in with the intention of masterminding on some level, but then also playing. So let's take them through kind of our sequence of events so they have context on what the heck we did, shall we?
Okay.
So I got there. Laura picked me up from the airport. We made dinner, and then we woke up in the morning. Day 1.
The end. That's it. And then all of a sudden we picked up a British accent and it wouldn't go away the entire time, to the point that I was thinking in a British accent. It was, we don't know where it came from, but it came. It stuck.
So I think one thing, and if any of you guys are planning to have like a mastermind weekend with your girlfriends or with your significant other or anything like that, one thing that I've noticed and what Laura and I typically collaborate on is that we set it up so that we're leading into a weekend, right? So it's usually Thursday, Friday are our lighter days of work. And then Saturday, Sunday, full permission to play. Monday is CEO Monday, so it's playing and masterminding. And Tuesday is like getting back into the workflow for the rest of the week. So I came on Wednesday afternoon, and then Thursday we primarily worked. We hopped around coffee shops. I had a couple of meetings there in person with clients. We were still kind of in our typical routine. And then Friday, what do we do on Friday?
I don't know. I should have put. I'm like, you literally told me to pull up my pictures, and I did not.
Friday, I think we did more of the same, but we worked a half day on Friday, and then we went to go play. Friday was like our blowing off steam. Remember, we went to go get dinner?
No. My brain doesn't remember things.
What is it called? Carpaccio?
Oh, we went to go outside, and we went and we pretended we were in Paris.
And then we went to a rooftop.
Yes, I do remember.
Thursday was work day. Friday was like half work, half just like let's play, let's go be humans together, like let's catch up on everything.
Steph was trying to guess my type, and she couldn't figure it out.
Laura
she still doesn't get it.
I do get it now because you pointed out approximately maybe 2 examples. Maybe.
It's because my standards are high, darling.
The standards are high in your play.
Also, actually, now that I'm thinking about the 2 that I pointed out, nothing similar.
Gosh darn.
They just had daddy energy. That was literally it.
Laura likes daddy energy. Anyone watching who want to date Laura, if you check these boxes, you're gold. Ask her out.
So, daddy energy.
Daddy energy, some tats, A little bit darker complected, maybe some
Yeah,
facial hair,
we like the facial hair.
and he's fit.
He's got to be fit.
But honestly, all of this goes out the window when she finds the match.
1,000%. Well, you got to be. No, because if I bulldoze you, I can't. Like, there's just things I know.
Exactly. But
Yeah, pick me up and throw me around. You know what I mean?
not all the physical. So man,
Yeah,
like,
it's not. No, it's more. It's all energetic. It is all energetic to me because
yeah.
women, we can fall in love with a motherfucking tree. Like, truly, we can. If it's like I feel safe and protected here, I'm in. Anyways, back to the story. Friday.
We really didn't do like any masterminding together. It was mostly just like us, like
Individual work.
being together. Yeah, being in our individual work and then being together. And then we went to a rooftop. Laura tried to point out her type. Didn't really do it. I said, I'm gonna find you a man.
Didn't work.
We didn't. We were girl time.
Yeah.
And then Saturday we woke up and we had like our journaling, talking in the morning, connecting with spirit, and then we went and trained for a Spartan race. It was Laura.
Oh yeah, I maybe signed up for a Spartan race. I don't know why. I'm really regretting it today, this very day, when my body is very tired. But I was like, Stef. So me and my friends are gonna go sprint. Then we're gonna sprint up some stairs. And then we're gonna do this workout.
Come?
You're coming. Do you want to come? She's like, yeah, guys. You did well though. You did really well.
But you know what? Even that was an activation for me.
Why?
Because for so long, I have been in a phase where I cut out most cardio in my life because I was healing from Epstein-Barr and really healing my hormones and focusing more on that than jacking up my cortisol and my cardiovascular endurance, because that kind of put me in a hole for a long time. And so doing that and also being in play and fun and laughing, and we have the fucking goofiest videos from all that entire day, like activated that inner athlete within me, where now I'm coming back. Homegirl's been running. She's been expanding her cardiovascular endurance again because it showed me like I can do this when I'm in the right energy, you know? Yeah. And how could this be bad for me if it's something that is creating this lightness?
Yeah, that's one of your big takeaways. And Steph, I just kept sitting there because Steph would just be like in these corners talking to my friends, and then I just wouldn't exist. And I'm like, when your friend comes to town and takes all your friends, it's fine. It's fine. I'll just be over here.
Conversation.
No, I loved it so much. It made my heart so happy. I was like,
I think that was what was also so beautiful about this entire trip is partially, and we'll probably talk a little bit more in depth about this, but one thing that Laura is so good at is connecting people and being like, oh, I have this friend, and oh, I have this friend, and you guys would really connect on this. Why don't you guys talk and have a conversation? And just being so open and giving with your community. There was no like, my friend's in town, so it's only us. It was like, my friend's in town, so let me introduce you to like my community. And your friends and the community that you have built is so welcoming and so open that I felt like I wasn't like the girl from out of town who like didn't fit in. Like they were just like, yeah, of course, like we're all together, we're all one, which was super beautiful to get.
They all knew who you were. They just all thought you were from Texas.
Everyone thought I was
Everyone thought you were from Texas. I'm like, no,
don't call me a Texan. Just kidding. We love Texans wherever you are.
You start getting hate mail.
We love you in Texas. I just would never move there.
Yeah, I literally ran away from you guys. It's fine. No hard feelings. Back to the topic.
We trained for a Spartan race. And honestly just hung out most of Saturday, and then we went out.
Oh yeah, because it was Bianca's birthday. Hi, Bianca. I know you're listening.
We went out on the town.
We did. We went clubbing and we were dancing.
This is what I love about our relationship, because so we went out to dinner and then we did go clubbing.
Yeah.
But not like the club. Like,
I mean, we did walk into a club and then we walked right out of that club.
Laura walked us into a club.
I don't walk us in. Wow. Bianca goes, let's go to here. And I walk in and I go, absolutely not. It's just like, no.
Mom, take me home.
I'm scared.
I'm scared. Music's too loud.
The lights are
When I
boom, boom.
realized, I was like, well, that phase is very much over.
Yeah,
But what I was saying is like, I love that we can go out, and it's not like you partially had a little bit of mom guilt from
I
what you
did.
told me around like taking me out late at night.
Because y'all, I still party sometimes. Like, not like slamming shots parties, but I like to twerk. Like, I'm in my single season. I'm just out here. I am like, I love that part of me. I am like an ex raver, festival goer. Like, I was that person that was like too party central. And I'm like, it's just sometimes I like to. And so I know with certain friends, I'm like, I don't know. Like, is
I
this
feel appalled that you would think that about me.
I don't just know. I'm like, Steph is so sensitive. I know if she does stay up late, she's like hungover for like 87 days. It's just like, okay, we gotta go. We gotta put the little flower to bed. Has to go home, and my friend just goes, no.
Not going home.
Okay.
So we ended up staying out probably till like 1, but we were just dancing and having fun. And
Yeah.
that's what I love about our relationship. So Laura was over there feeling mom guilt, and I was like, I don't get to do this. You guys, I live in
Yeah.
Connecticut. Everything closes at 9 p.m. Literally
Yeah.
9 p.m. And part of my realization was like, holy fuck, I've grown up so fast living
Yeah.
out here. Like it has completely turbocharged our life. And like I would never trade it for anything. But just getting to go out and not care about, for me, a big thing is like, I don't fucking care about having a bedtime routine and a morning routine when I'm out dancing my
Mhm.
booty off and having the best time with somebody who I'm just laughing like crazy with, and we're just being human. It's like, don't forget you're human in the process of your own growth. And there is such beauty in just getting to go out and be absolute hooligans just for funsies.
It is so fun. Like, it's funny, and I think I reflected this to you where I was like, I like the way going out with my girlfriends because everyone we were with, they're married, right? So it's like going out with people like that, it's not like you're like quote unquote hunting or you're like in that type of energy. So it doesn't feel like you're pushing, like you're truly in your feminine, just like playing and being alive. And like I can think back to like some friends, and I mean, this is why I've curated my friendships and like I run my life like it's a business. Like everything, what's the ROI on these kind of things, and what's the value of certain things? And so, I know her eyes are popping out of her head. People don't like it when I explain it, but it is. It's I look at things in
You're
that
not
way to.
beneficial, you're out.
You're fired. Whatever that is. I said it in a weird accent though. But it is in that way. And then like when we were sitting there and like dancing and what have you, and I'm like, I'm just so proud of this season. We're looking at these things where it's like, yes, I had mom guilt and what have you, but at the same time, it's like there's nothing quote unquote bad. Like I'm not trying to get a hit on like, yes, you're curious about my type, but I'm like, I don't even fucking care. Like it'll happen. Like there's no rush because right now in this season, this is so fun. Like this makes me feel so alive. There's nothing I'm rushing out of. So that in this season, I was reflecting on this actually this morning where it's like, I'm not trying to rush my single season simply because of moments like that, of that night, of this whole journey that we had that whole weekend. Cause I'm like, there's going to be a time in my life when there's babies and there's stuff to take care of. And there's my business is going to expand and there's a husband and there's a household and there's all this stuff. And it's like to now be in a season of life where I'm like, I'm not trying to get out of this. And that just means when someone comes, it's out of choice, not obligation, because I'm not trying to push anything out of it. And I get to really enjoy just these moments. And I remember when we were in that night where I was just so present. Like, I'm not worried, like, what eyes are on me. It's like I'm looking weird as fuck in the middle of a dance floor with one of my best friends being like, ha, ha, ha. Like, and like the video, like, it was just so fun up until we walked into that one club and one was like, no, not fun no more. I got to go. And it was, yeah, it's just, I think those moments are so, so beneficial where it's like, for you, it's like this, like, oh yeah, I'm remembering my youth. We're like, same. Like that's where I'm at as well, where it's just like, I love this season. Like I love being this young, even though you know, I'm 31 and it's like time to grow up and whatever. And it's like, but who said? Like, who said I have to do those things? Because then it means I'm in lack and then I'm rushing the season and I'm doing this stuff versus like, I can't change the season I'm in. Like, I can continue to prepare for what I'm praying for, but at the same time, I'm not going to come at these spaces from lack and like I'm doing something wrong. And this is what you shouldn't be doing if you want to be a freaking housewife and you want to be a wife. I shouldn't be at the club doing these things because I'm not going to meet my husband. And I'm like, I'm not here to meet my husband. I'm here to be with my girls and to make fucking memories and have the time of my freaking life, because we're going to be talking about this when we're in the middle of the club and we're breaking it down and we're turking and we're spinning and we're doing the things and all we're doing is drinking water. Like, it's like people would be like
soda with a lime.
Yeah, like people are definitely looking at us like we were probably intoxicated. We're like, we are completely sober. What's up? Like, it's just what we do.
I
And
know,
it's
we made out to one being completely sober.
literally, I did have a few cocktails, but it wasn't over the top. But it's like one of those things where it's just like, I love that. Like, that's what this is about in that season, and being able to connect with your girlfriends and not feeling in lack, not feeling like you need to be somewhere else, not feeling like, you know, I shouldn't be doing this because this isn't what wives do. And I've heard so many times, don't meet your man at the club. And it's like, I'm not at the club to meet my man. Like, and if I'm there. So if he's there and he happens to be there and he happens to be doing the weird ass shit that I'm doing, who the fuck cares? Like, I'm in the moment instead of trying to, yes, I run my life like a business, but are you also open to the season? Are you also open to receive? Are you also open to like expand beyond the rule book that you put yourself into and just like be alive, you know? And I think that's something that's like reflective, where it's like, yeah, I was sitting there being like, little Steph needs to go home and we need to put her to bed. We need to do these things. And then she's like, I'm breaking my rules too.
Mama needs to get out. Thing though is like, I love hearing you say that, and also being someone who is in like a long-term relationship and we do have roots and we are very settled like in our life, going out and just like, I don't think I've honestly like been out dancing. I mean, we've had like late nights like me and Nolan, but I haven't like been out dancing with girlfriends honestly since we got back together.
Yeah,
Which is why, oh my God, that's so
that's
wild.
wild.
That is so wild. And I love just like that sensation of like, you also still can do that in a relationship, you know, and just be there and be fully like expressed and dancing and having fun. Like, it doesn't have to go away as soon as you start a different sort of lifestyle. And I hope that we're still moms going out and doing that and just like
Oh,
having
1,000%.
fun and being alive and not forgetting that, because I think there are so many rules around like, a person in a relationship does this, a person who's single does this, a person who's a mom does this, a person who's a CEO does this. And yeah, there's a time and place for those. As I was just telling you earlier today, I was like, I love my routine. Like, there's totally a time and place for that. However, when you can just break those rules and just be like, let me just go live. Let me go live in my life. Typically, you're going to learn 5 times more than you do when you're like, I have to be this specific way. And you just break all of that, which I think is so cool.
Well, that's what you taught me, because because I colored outside of the lines really well in my life. It was like I needed it, right? Like I have an addictive personality. I don't like, I've had to raise myself, so I don't have discipline. Like, I've had to create that. Like, you know, I remember a fight me and my brother's ex-girlfriend had gotten into, and in middle of which already sets the tone of how chaotic things were. But we were in a fight and she paused in the middle of the fight and she just looks at me and she's like, I'm like, what the fuck are you looking at? And she's like, I just realized I'm fighting with someone that doesn't have parents and you have no idea how to actually be a human. And so I like that and like that I still remember. And I think I was like 20 at the time. And like that, and then all of the other chaotic things that happened. So I had to put myself in this box because I was like, I don't know how to exist because I'm coloring outside the lines and chaos keeps happening. And I know I want to change things and I know I want to shift things. And I know the woman I want to become, I just have no models. I have no people around me. I don't have that, you know, from a science perspective, children that are on a playground that has a fence, they feel a lot more free to go wander. I didn't have a fence. People that don't have children that didn't have a fence, they actually stay where they're at because they don't feel free to go explore stuff. And so that's how I was until we started to be friends and I started to like loosen this up, where it was just like, no, it's okay if a CEO acts this way. It's okay that you are in a single season. No one's judging you for how you live your life. Like, except for the way that you perceive it. Like if I'm thinking it's wrong, I'm going to match with people that think it's wrong. Like these types of things versus like I fully accept and surrender that I'm not doing anything wrong. I am genuinely just a person that loves to play. Like that's just my baseline is joy. My baseline is love. My baseline is freedom. And I'm making sure I also have rules and discipline. And like, even when you were here and I was like, I'm sitting in front of my computer and I'm not working on my funnels and I'm not working on the back end and I feel like I'm fucking things up and I'm going to lose all my money and I'm going to fuck over my clients and I don't know what's going to happen. And you're like, let's go to the beach. And I'm like, right, yeah, sure. Okay, let's go. And then we ended up coming up with this entire extraordinary thing that's coming where it's like, you can play and still create, and it's actually more impactful than anything before. And like you can go and play and then you come back to your relationship and it's more impactful than ever before. I can go and play, and now this week I don't even know how many dates with 3. Let's not get extreme here. We have 3 where it's like, then we have this happening where it's like people now, and then it's from people that see on my Instagram, like, I love the way that you play. Can I take you here? Like, it's that type of stuff where it's like, actually, that's your most magnetic energy. That restricted box because you don't trust yourself because of your past is actually the thing that's limiting you from your potentiality and trapping you from actually stepping into your purpose, right? Like, that's actually what's going on versus I'm in my life. There's no rules except for the ones that I put on myself because I simply like to be a disciplined human being and I run my life like a business. But it also, I love the colors and the context of which is inside of that rule book.
I love you so much. I'm gonna cry. I love you so freaking much.
I love you.
I love the human that you are. And I love that we get to be that. And that there is that. That's so, it's wild because I don't think I've ever seen that side. Like Laura and I talk about, and one thing we'll just continue to evolve in this podcast is like what we activate in each other. Because there is, I would love to see this. I can't wait to see this when I die. Like to look back on this relationship and like actually understand the roles that we played in each other's lives.
Yeah.
Because I think when we met, there was that instant connection, but now it's like every single time we're together, like I've never had a friend who expands me in this way. I have fucking incredible friends, but there's something that's just slightly different. Like everyone has a different flavor for me in my life. Like every friend has a different flavor and I love every single flavor. And this specific flavor is very interesting. It's very perplexing to me because it very much is like an activation. And what you were saying around like, I feel like I've colored outside of the lines for so long in my life. What's so interesting is we're like yin and yang.
I know, it's the opposite.
I was always like, I grew up as this like wild child, like overly expressive. Our neighbors thought that I was a boy because I was so loud growing up. Turns out I'm a girl. And just like was like larger than life, wanted to have these photo shoots.
Turns out I'm
I always had that balance of masculine and feminine where I was like very like masculine, rough and tumble, but then my favorite color was pink and I just wanted to play with baby dolls and dress up. So I was always larger than life and like eating with my hands. And my parents called me Mowgli because I was just like a wild child. But I learned throughout my life to put myself into a box, to create less chaos, to somehow mitigate the levels of tension that I was feeling perhaps at home or just by life itself, right? And so I got really good at coloring inside the lines. Like I literally remember in kindergarten, our teacher would give us these letters to color every single day. And instead of coming up with my own variation of like what colors I want to put here, I would look at her example and I would copy it to a T. Isn't that wild? Because I wanted to color so inside the lines. And that was kind of my programming. You were like, everywhere.
I literally would pick up as many crayons as I could and I would choose many colors and I'd be like, I'm done. And there's no way. And I was like, it's done.
So talented. Like I love this though. And so for me, I got really good at coloring inside the lines. And they're part of like my own personal evolution and will be likely a lifelong evolution, which is why my movement is called the Fully Alive movement, is being in that aliveness and being in that play and coloring outside of the lines and doing things just to get it done and staying out too late sometimes and then bringing yourself back and being a goofball and all of that to like release that inner wild child and to bring her into harmony with the discipline and structure that I knew so well growing up. you know,
Mm.
and always put on myself. And so I love that we activate very simple, like we're both coming back into harmony, but it's
Yeah.
through slightly different channels and like different ways of how we're coming back into harmony, which is just so beautiful. So thank you for being that for me.
I love you. And it was just what landed on my heart is that is what we're building as well, right? Like you talk about the X factor and things of that nature, where it's like, because you are so, what's the structure? How does this work? You're so in it, right? And that's something where I'm like, Steph is so freaking intentional that it triggers me sometimes because I take all the crayons and I hate lines. Like it's like, and she is like, okay, how does this work? What's the system in place? Let's build all these kind of things. And I'm so impressed by it because of the mental capacity that she has to be able to do that and to hold that. And she's literally a detective. Like she wants to do these things and she's able to extract that X factor. And that is your X factor, right? Like coloring inside the lines is your X factor. Whereas like how mine is, where it's like, let's blow this fuck up and make it loud. Let's play. Let's turn it. Let's create that attraction. Let's do these things. And we like, although like I'm bringing that out in you, you're helping me accept that part of me because I've been told I need to be in a box. I need to speak slower. I know I've seen your guys' review on the podcast. Thank you very much. You're welcome. They have a slow down button if you want it. But it's like, it's that type of thing where I've been told I think too fast, I speak too fast, my visions are too big, I'm too this, I'm too that. I've been told this my whole fucking life versus what you have shown me in this friendship and what we're bringing forward is like, actually, that's your X factor, baby. Like, yes, there's a way to channel it, and I definitely need to be more intentional with some things, and that's what's so fun about collaborating with you because it's me sitting there going, "Oh, this is what this looks like. Oh, okay. If I can actually put this into my body and then bring this out, there's even more magic to it. Do I like to do it fast still? Yeah, that's my magic. How do I like to do it? Bold, loud, lots of colors, lots of things. Like, not actually lots of colors. I'm a very neutral person, but putting things,
Possibly.
you know, but like putting things out there in that way. And like, as I was just listening to you talking, I was like, holy shit, but like, that is what you do in this world. That's your X factor. Like, it's still that younger part, but then at the same time, we're using each other's X factor to pull out the opposite of the X factor.
And this is what's so cool about relationships. Like this is what's so cool. And to fast forward, part of my intentionality is closing loops. We left off on taking you guys through our weekend. Fast
Yeah.
forward through the weekend, we were playing Monday. Monday
Yeah.
comes, we did a little bit of work in the morning, and then we went to the beach. And Monday is like our CEO Monday, so we both don't take any calls. We aren't necessarily like very client facing. I don't do any messaging support on Mondays. I'm very much like building on my business. That did
Yeah.
not make sense.
We're working on the
On
business
the
versus
business.
in the business.
We're
I
building
got
the
you.
business, right? Building the different pieces of the business. And so we went to the beach on Monday, and Laura was like, I need to be in front of my laptop. And I was
Yeah,
like,
I was
I promise,
stressed. Like,
you
I
know?
literally, we were in the kitchen. She's like, what's wrong? And I was like, I'm gonna murder everything. Like, I just like, I stuck my face in a bucket of ice.
It's like I felt that way similarly at certain points. And sometimes it like for me, and this is just kind of a side tangent for any high performers who travel, especially if people don't understand. For me, I love a good like hour, 2 hours on my laptop,
Yeah.
grinding and grounding. But like for me, it's my grounding space. So even if I'm with my family, I will take an hour and like I'll wake up earlier than people, or I'll just like scoot away and I'll just be in my work, because for me my work is something that grounds me. It makes me a better human to be around other people. It's not this thing around like, oh my god, I'm missing something. It's like, no, like as long as I know like all these things are checked off, my responsibilities are good, I can be fully present. So I think we did a good job. There were certain times where like I got really antsy and you got really antsy around like, oh my god, there's things to work on that like it doesn't look like how our typical work week would look. Yet there's still so much value because in the conversations that we're having, you know, at 7 a.m. when we're sitting outside on your porch, the conversations that we're having when we're at the beach and we're bouncing off each other and we're activating these different sides of ourselves, that is pure magic. And so Monday we ended up going to the beach. And to bring this back to what you were talking about, one thing that we started to uncover, I remember like we were walking down the beach and we were talking, and I'm like typing all these notes out on my phone as we're talking to make sure that we like have everything intentionally out in an outline. But we're just talking and we're playing, and at one point we looked at each other and we're like, do you even realize that like you are basically like the yin to my yang?
Yeah.
where like I am really great at pulling out the X factor, understanding the why, the mission, the story behind your movement so that you can feel confident in your authority. And then Laura is really incredible at bringing that authority out and expressing it into the world and making it bold and making it, you know, the visuals match up with how you feel and what that movement actually is and the why behind it. It's like I do the internal and she does the external. And so when we were just looking at that, and yes, we are building towards something coming. But when we were looking at that, I think it was the greatest activation of like, I can just be in my genius and I don't have to be all things at 50%. I can be fully in my genius, fully in my X factor and be all there, completely all in and be so fucking good at that because there's other people who are good at the other stuff. And I think so often, especially in business, it's like people start to water down their message because they feel like they have to be all things. And they feel like that one thing that they're really not good at, of course, it's a beautiful thing to always work on your skill set, but they feel like they also have to be that. And it's like, no, no, no. Like, what are you good at? Like, what is the very thing that comes so naturally to you when you hone in on that and go deep? There's a huge permission slip that happens and also a potency in your work. And I think that was one of the coolest things that we started to notice is like, oh, wait, this really is my genius. And we're like, oh my God, this really is my genius. And that's where having those conversations and bouncing off each other actually becomes even more beneficial in the long term of our businesses than just sitting in front of our laptops and doing our individual work and checking things off. It's not as potent sometimes.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's being in the wild because it literally, which I get struggled in that a lot because even I think what we had gotten into where I was like, my confidence is getting dwindled because I'm looking at the things I'm not good at. Because I don't necessarily have a perfectionist mind. Thank you, ADHD. But
I
like,
know.
I know I've adopted yours now and I'm like, get out of my system. But it's one of those things where it's like, I started to really hyper vigilantly look at the things I'm not good at because I want to get better at them. But I was only looking at the things that I want to get better at. So my confidence started to dwindle. And then, of course, perfect as God's timing is, you came in. And then we're starting to look at these things. And it's like, oh, I don't actually have to be good at all of this intentionality things. Like, yes, that is fine. But that's also why I don't work with early stage people because I'm like, it's just, I don't have the patience. I don't have, like, my brain just literally has never worked that way. So why am I trying to make it work some way that it doesn't? Versus you and I collaborating on something, I was like, oh wait, there's the thing I'm really fucking good at. Let me focus on that again. And then my confidence started to come back. My magnetism started coming back. And that's started to work in my own business on top of what we're building together, on top of this podcast, on top of my relationships, on top of that stuff where it was like, oh, I was just looking at the wrong thing. And it's not to say don't focus on the areas you need growth in. Like I am spending, that's after this podcast, that's what how intentional can I be? How can I build this out? How can I do it? Like it's a muscle I have to stretch, but I don't need to be looking at that every fucking day because I'm going to get worn down and keep looking at where I'm not good at. And versus what?
Go ahead.
Versus being like, versus going, okay, I'm now looking at the thing I'm not good at because I do want to grow, but I'm also celebrating the fact that I'm really good at a lot of things. And I can actually use the things that a lot of people don't understand, my branding, my marketing, my skills, my fucking ADH brain, the way that I love funnels, the way that I help people show up with this, like, who the fuck is this daddy energy? Like these types of things I'm really good at. So if I can hone in on perfecting that skill while growing my other skill, it becomes this match made thing, which gave me this sense of fucking freedom in my own brand. Like outside of just what we're building, it is also impacting the areas that matter, my brand, my friendships here, like my friendships even in the last week, they've deepened and like I've been more intentional with those types of things. Like my fucking health has been on point, like just my dating life. It's like it impacted everything just from this micro shift of like, it's okay to look at the things you're not good at. You definitely should, but don't spend all your time looking at them.
Laura,
What?
I love all of this.
What?
So good. I've got two things. I'm laughing because balloons. If you guys are watching this on video, balloons just went up on the screen. I don't know why my phone does that when I'm.
Or you have to turn it off, that little green button at the top. You have to turn off gestures.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll figure that out. But as you were talking, my eye, because I have my photos pulled up on the side because it's helping us recollect.
Yeah.
But my eye got this photo of us at the beach.
Oh God.
I wish I could share my screen right now.
Which one is it?
Like, yeah.
Oh, where you keep going crack and I keep going.
It's just hilarious. So like as we're having these deep conversations, we're also being just complete freaking funny people.
Because we are.
And
That's
frolicking and doing cartwheels and trying to get on a bouncy house.
I know. Freddie didn't let us
Yeah.
on. We're like in the middle of masterminding this movement, and I'm like, look at the slide. Let's go.
Walk to the slide and see if we can get on. So like there's a lightness and a fun to it. But to your point of what you were saying around like the skill set and your genius, the differentiation is what is your skill set and what skill sets do you want to expand versus what is your genius. So with our skill set, we can always learn new skill sets. In fact, I was just at dance and y'all, I'm about to perform bachata solo with my instructor. It's so far outside my comfort zone, but it's a new
I'm
hobby
so
that I've taken up.
excited.
And it just expands my brain in so many different ways. And she's teaching me this dance and it's like a sexy part of the dance. And she goes, Steph, have you ever like taken a heels class before? Like this is kind of coming naturally to you. And I was like, no, honey, I'm just sexy. That's what I told her. But and then I told her kind of my story around dance, and y'all, I have a little trauma wound around dance. And she was like, well, if like the sexy part comes naturally to you, you should go take ballet. Because if the elegance part is the thing that's uncomfortable for you, that's where you should put yourself. And I was like, of course, that makes sense. She was like, people who are very flexible in ballet have to go to pole classes to learn strength and muscle, right? And so there's such a power in expanding your skill set and taking yourself in rooms to expand your skill set to fill in those little gaps where maybe you're not the most comfortable. Because to say you should only stay in the skills that you're comfortable with is completely shortchanging your entire growth for your lifetime, right? You want to expand your skill set, but that's different than your own innate genius. Your genius is like those things that based on your past experiences, the skills that you have learned and the things that just come naturally to you, those things, like that's where you deepen, that's where you own your authority and your expertise, and every single person has them, right? You're not going to be a genius and have an innate genius in every single thing, but you can always expand your skill set, which I think is very interesting. And so the things that you bring through your genius expands my skill set. And the things that I bring through my genius expand your skill set, which is super cool. And it becomes this like,
it's the best.
Beautiful combination of things. And I think it's a really powerful thing to find that in your community and in your friendships. You know, and to not only just have friends who you can, play with and like have fun with, but also friends who inspire you to grow in a new way, who inspire your skill set to shift and to evolve over time. And I think that's one of the greatest things that you've also given me.
Yeah, I think oftentimes we're looking at, and I know we've spoken about this, where growing up, we like to be the lead dog. Right? It keeps you comfortable. Like, I don't want to be wrong. I notice this with all my high performing clients. Like, I don't want to ask for help because I should know better. And I don't want people to know I'm bad at something, or I don't want to know this kind of thing. Versus, and I shared this on my page the other day, where it's like there's another edge, but you're at the edge of your comfort zone thinking that's you taking courageous action, when really the growth that you're seeking is beyond that comfort zone. And that can only come by being around people that, like this friendship is, it activates you. Like, I don't see it as this like, oh, I need you to be exactly like me, and I need you to think like me, I need you to do things like me. And it's like, no, we are very opposite in a lot of the ways that we do things, but I'm so curious by the way that you do things, because it expands the parts of me that I know I want to improve. I know I want to look at these things. And so instead of curating my life to keep me comfortable, I curate my life to keep me safe and have fun. But I want to go beyond just what I know, especially because I only know what I've been raised to know. I know that has nothing to do with the woman that I want to become. So I need to be around women. I need to curate my reality to expand what makes me feel comfortable. Like I said, all my friends are married and in happy relationships while I'm over here doing these things. Instead of, and you had brought this to my attention, like, I'm that friend that like you can celebrate with, even if I'm crying about a boy, one thing, and I'm like genuinely fucking hyped about this shit because I'm like, I love this. It doesn't make me jealous. I'm like, it is, I need to hear these things. Like these are the things that shift me, or like financial highs or health wins, like curating your reality for these things so that you can actually grow versus staying in the comfort bubble of what high achievers often do is I'm a lone wolf because no one can think the way that I am. I need to only learn from people that have this and like do this, and it's like it's actually not that lonely. Like you just have to really open yourself to what can I learn in these rooms and how can I start to curate my reality so that the people that are around me are the ones that are teaching me valuable skills that I know I'm not a master in. And it doesn't mean I need to become a genius at these things, but I do want to expand my skill set in these things and starting to really look at who are you sourcing your knowledge from and who are you actually spending your time with, and are you actually spending too much time alone? And that can really dampen that type of fire that I think we generate when we're together. That's why we're feeling this, where it's like, oh my God, like if people could have this all the fucking time, like imagine the type of women that would be leading this world. Like, holy freaking heck, like that would be extraordinary.
Yeah. And it will trigger you.
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful thing. I've actually never heard you say that there are ways that I trigger you. You trigger the
Yeah.
fuck out of me sometimes,
Yeah.
which is so funny. And I remember one of the most pivotal conversations, I'll never forget it because it really set the tone for our entire relationship, was that it was at a time where Nolan and I were deepening into our relationship. I had moved out to Connecticut and we were really like falling in love again. And I was just celebrating a part of that. And you were going through like a little hiccup, or like a heart hiccup is what you call it, which I love.
Yeah.
A little heart hiccup. And I remember saying to you, like, thank you for being a safe place for my celebration.
Yeah.
Like there is just such like an openness, and it's not a fake like, oh my God, I'm so happy for you. It's like, no, truly, like I love hearing this. And that has shifted the way that I am in relationship 100%. I've never felt that way specifically in that specific flavor before, where it's like, I'm so happy for you. I grew up with a sister. Like we have sister wounds. We have this whole like, who's going to get mom and dad's love and attention, and therefore
Yeah.
I'm going to be better or worse or whatever. Right. And like to have that just openness of I can celebrate you and your genius even when I'm not feeling 100%, and you can celebrate mine even when you're not feeling 100%. And then we can also celebrate each other at the exact same time. And it's like, there is no like, oh my God, what place are you in? Can you handle this? You're like,
Yeah.
bring it on, you know? And that's something that I also hope to bring in to my space as well. But like having these friends that expand you and make you grow is gonna fucking trigger you.
1,000%.
You know, and I think so many people shy away from that. So they create these relationships where they can't share all of themselves, or they have to gauge like, where is this person at? Can I actually celebrate that with them right now? Like, is it a good time? And there's always like beauty and in understanding what somebody's capacity is. But at the same time, I think it keeps us from a level of growth. And some people, you high performers who like to have people who don't really grow you so that you can be the number one top dog and you can be the one who's best at everything. Like it's really cute, but it's not helping you grow. It's not helping you get to the next level. You're at some point will plateau. At some point, you have to get comfortable with being around people who trigger you and making that normal.
And letting them in. Like that's
Yeah.
what I think is the biggest thing is like, yes, you can go to networking events and you can be at tables that trigger you. I think people are they get that concept where it's like, actually, I was noodling on this.
Huh.
So we're good at this where it's like going to networking events or sitting at tables so you're learning something business wise. But the people that are quote unquote ahead of you or whatever, actually getting vulnerable with
Yeah.
those types of people. You go from dating people to actually being in relationship with people, and we fucking avoid that shit a lot lately, especially with women, where we're like, okay, I'm seeking this in my dating life, I'm doing all these kind of things, and I'm like, I was brushing my teeth thinking about this. I was like, I can bet just by watching you at a networking event, I can bet how your friendships are. Right. And I've had this conflict with you where I was like, I suck at networking events because I don't know how to just be like, show help me get ahead and do these things. And I'm like, I get that, but like I like to have depth with people that are at my level or above, right? And then being able to actually get vulnerable with these people, because then that's more of a heart connection. I think we avoid that thing where it's like high performers, we don't, like, at least in my world, what I've seen is I've never had friendships like this, and like all this kind of stuff. Whereas like for me, I'm like, this is like the common denominator. I'm the common denominator in this because no matter what country I've lived in, this is always around me.
Mhm.
Going back to that connector piece where I'm like, I'm always sourcing this type of stuff because I see how valuable it is to have the vulnerable relationships, not just the networking ones, not just the surface level, not just this like, I have someone to get coffee with. It's like, no, I have someone that I'm choking on like dust right now. I have someone that has, I'm not crying. I could be, but it's like I have
Oh,
someone I can
tell it.
talk to my like love life with. I have someone that I can then build funnels with. I have someone I can tell my financial scares about. I can say I'm feeling weak and I'm feeling like an imposter in this way and these types of things. And to have that type of freedom, that's what is lacking in any industry, in any relationship right now. We're really good at being liked, but how good are you at being loved?
Mm.
For truly being who you are and feeling safe enough to have that vulnerable heart to heart connection with someone. And that's where that play comes, right? Like people see us and they're like, they light up, we light up a room. It just happens everywhere we go. We talk about it. It's like people
What are
can't
you
help but
on?
like literally, what are you on? And we're like, sisterhood, what's up?
We got asked that at the gym one day. A woman came up to us. She goes, I want whatever you guys took this morning. And I said, it's just sisterhood.
It's just sisterhood as we're doing pull-ups talking in a British accent. And it is that, but I think the reason that is around us so often is because we know we activate each other and I don't have to shy away like your mom said. Like our friendship is so good because we can't bulldoze each other. Like it's just impossible for
It's
that to happen. It's like we just have so much love in our heart and we have so much depth in our soul that it's literally impossible for my, and I do it. I do the feminine test of like, how bold can I be to see, are you still gonna love me? How bold can I, and my daddy energy comes out and you just like laugh at me and you're like, you're cute. Like that's funny. Like it's not gonna work. Like it's that kind of energy where like people don't have that part. And I really wish more people would, because it's like you want the play, but you don't want to do open your heart. You don't want to crack open your heart in order to allow that play to come through. That only comes from vulnerability because we have allowed each other in and we have done this and we do that in every room that we go into. We connect with the hearts versus how can I get ahead and how can I then expand that? And that triggers so many people. Open hearts trigger people,
Yeah.
but it's what we want so badly.
Yeah. And I think one thing that I'm also just stepping into deeper truth with is that it doesn't always have to be with a million people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I was someone growing up, I never really had a friend group of 5 people around me constantly, like girlfriends I was friends with since we were 5 years old. Like I never really had that. I would have one really close friend in different areas of my life. And for so long, I remember I made that so wrong growing up. And I had a really incredible psychologist in high school tell me, yes, I was in therapy in high school. So that's kind of telling of the things
Me
I thought were
too.
wrong with me.
Me too. It's fine.
It's the best period of my life. But she was like, Steph, your energy like is not meant to be with every single person because it is so deep and it's so powerful. Like you're meant to go deep with one person rather than to be, around so freaking many in terms of friends and relationships. It's different with my business because it's a different energy, right? You have to separate like who are you in your relationships versus who are you in your business. Yes, there's a common thread around just the human you are, but it's different ways of interacting in the world, right? And so I started to normalize that of like, okay, what would that be like if I just picked up like a really, really great friend in these different places rather than feeling like I have to have these 5 friends around me all the time, which I think is also really beautiful if that's how your energy works. And I think that part of finding these people who crack your heart open is releasing the pressure that there has to be so many. And for me, at least, that's been the biggest thing is like, I would rather go so deep with, at this point, it's like 5 or 6 really close people that I have within my life rather than constantly have 20 people around.
Mm-hmm. And now we're switching that.
On the flip side, what's so funny is like that's that has always been my pattern is go deep with few people.
Yeah.
In my relationships. And Laura is really fucking incredible at creating community around creating like that friend group. Like you've said, you've always had that in your life, like no matter the country that you're in, like you have that.
In my adult life, childhood was hard. Adult life.
once we all became big girls in the world.
Yeah.
But you're really good. And I even saw it. Like when I was saying you were so welcoming to like share your community with me and to bring me in. And if any of you guys are listening, like I loved meeting and getting to know every single one of you. And I can't wait to deepen that. But like of bringing me in, being like, oh, you should connect with this person and these two people should meet, and just creating those connections that create this ecosystem. Like you really are the glue in that way, which is so powerful, and creating this like energy where everybody vibes together, which is amazing. And I know for me, I knew going into our trip, one of the biggest things that I was so excited to get activated by was that sensation of community. Because living out here in Connecticut, Nolan and I have been out here for almost 2 years now, and we finally just like have our feet planted here, and we're like, okay, we're not going anywhere. Like, let's really start to create community. And it's not the same as when I was living in Denver and he was in Northern California, and we were surrounded by friends and we were surrounded by young people and networking opportunities. Like, y'all, I have been searching for the networking opportunity. Haven't found it yet, but we're going to create it. But
Yeah.
for me, one of the things that I've now been craving in this season is that community, is having like multiple people around. And so it's combining like my tendency to go really deep with you with, and I also do want to start to stretch that part of myself that can bring in community. So thank you for activating all of that.
I love it. And I'm excited because now you get to create that. And what I'm focusing on is the depth, where I'm like, as my as my life is shifting a lot right now, and I'm holding a lot of energy, especially in my business and growing and all the kind of stuff that I love. I've been praying for it. My energy is selective, and I'm really, really noticing the performance piece in me of holding big spaces, because you do have to be on, right? I have an online brand. That's a personal brand. I have my podcast. That's a personal podcast. I have my community that I have to be on, and I have these things. And what I've realized that's very freeing lately is like, I actually don't have to perform in all of those places. Like we literally just had one of my friend Bianca's birthday is like on an island, and I just had a guy hang me a hammock, and I just laid in the hammock and like didn't feel the need to perform and just sat in that hammock and had,
Hammock.
okay, it's spelled with an O. Let us know in the comments. Is it hammock or hammock? It's hammock. It's spelled with an O. Anyways, and like to have that moment where like for 2 hours I'm just sitting there and someone's sitting in a chair and I'm having deep conversation with someone versus needing to quote unquote work the room. Like what I am really working on right now in my life is how deep can I go? Because what I read to you this morning is we have a limited number of time on this planet. And I would rather spend now that, because I did just move here. I've only been here 8 months and I have an entire life, which is fucking bananas to me. And I'm so proud of myself. But it's like, and I get asked this all the time by the other girls in my community, where it's like, how do you have such deep connections with each one? Like, how do you know who your people are and things like that? And I'm like, because I've taken the time to go one-on-one with people and to figure out what actually recharges my energy. Like I'm okay in big groups, but when I need to be inside, when I need to be a projector, but I want to be at the party, but I don't want to be in the party, I know who I need to talk to, because that gives me more life. There's certain people that I can hang out with that don't take my energy. They fill it back up, actually. So I'm okay just wrapped up in a blanket somewhere, even though there's 20 people around me. And I don't care if you guys think I'm a bitch. I know you don't. I know you get it. I know you also wish you could have the confidence to do these things and to like be like, I'm here, but I'm not here. And like to be able to hold yourself in that way. And so what I'm focusing on now is that depth, is that I have a finite number of hours on this planet. And so instead of spending it with people I like, can I deepen with the people that I love? And can I really just focus on that right now? Because my life is speeding up very quickly. And I know I'm my person within the next few months. I have no doubt I will meet them. And that's going to take up a lot of time. And I'm not going to have this season as bigly as I have. So I'm just like, I'm really focusing on this like deep. Because at the end of the day, you really do just need one person, like one person in your physical proximity that you're like, let's go. and then you're fine. And then the rest of it is like, okay, now I'm in my networking season and I'm doing this stuff. And I really do believe we go in waves. Like,
Mm.
I know summer is going to be a lot of networking. I know winter is going to be a lot of like, or fall, whatever, is going to be a lot of networking and what have you. I know winter is going to be like deepening and like just moving through the seasons in that way. But like from how you are with your friends, like you're just so present and you're just so there with them and you know so much and like you're that like safety, like you have that energy. And I'm like, ooh, that's a part of me. I want to be more like not just this daddy energy, but like what I'm working on with my own mentors is like that soft, that opening, that vulnerable. Like I actually am a very shy person, like my natural state, but because I've learned how to perform so well, because you're a high achiever, you have to fucking sell. You're always selling something, so you do have to perform. But the most tender part of me is that soft, shy part. So how can I actually work on that piece and bring that forward in my relationship so people can actually feel my heart versus just my leadership, which is something I'm really, really learning from you right now.
I love that. We're flip-flopping. And
Yeah.
for any people who are into human design, my profile line is a 2-4 and Laura's is a 4-6.
2, 4, 4, 6. Ready? Okay.
All the bases covered. And so my 2-4, the 2 is like the hermit and the natural. And so I am very much like need to have my alone time, need to be away from people. But then the 4 is the people person, right? And so a lot of like most people, it's funny, I was with a couple of clients the other day and I was saying that I think they asked like between me and Nolan, who's more extroverted? And I said 110% he's more extroverted than I am. We're actually both 2-4s, which is kind of interesting. We just have different flavors. But he is 100% more extroverted. He will go and meet anyone, talk to any single human being. He can be around people way more than I can be around. And I'm very much introverted. Like I'm very much very selective over the people. And when I'm with a lot of people for a long time, like I have to
Is
go
he a
back.
Manny Jen?
Yes.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I know most about projectors. I don't know the one about him.
We're both projectors.
Yeah, we're both projectors. So I have to go and then be by myself. And so that's led me to be like very selective in my friendships. The flip side of that, it's funny because like you're learning that from me and what I'm learning from you is like I can sometimes hermit too much and be like, yeah, I'm set. Like I have my deep relationships and it's enough to like go deep with those people. Like I don't need that many more. However, I'm in the season of like, wait, I do get so freaking lit up by having these diverse conversations and having people from different walks of life in my sphere because there is an energy that happens from each of those, which I think is very interesting and cool. But I know that I'm going to swing back and be like,
oh, 100%.
I think I connected with too many people and now I have to figure out which ones are like the quality people that I really want.
But that's how it works. Like if you
Yeah.
think about it, that's dating, right? Like I was just talking about this with my friend where it's like, you do that in dating and call it funnel dating. You fill top of funnel, it's a whole bunch of people, you're exhausted. Then you deepen with people. Then you find the one you actually want to spend most of your time with. Like it's the same thing with friendship where it's like when I first got here, I had coffees every fucking day. Like I had this types of things. And then now I'm like, someone's like, let's go on a walk. And I was like, in a month. Like that's what I got it. That's as far as we go. Or it's stuff like that where I also know come summer, like I'm going to be out all the time. Like that's at least my of course, because I run my life like a business, in my business plan of my summer, that is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be networking and I'm going to be going to these things and getting in different arenas where it's like, and then you deepen again, and then you go, and then you deepen. And it's like, it's just the seasons,
Because
Love it.
beautiful thing. So the question that we originally started with was biggest takeaways.
We did so well. 45 minutes.
Creating this vortex together, what would you say was the biggest takeaway that you had and are still integrating most likely?
Intentionality without losing my magic. So something I'm working on with my own mentor was that, because I was like, I can't make stories. Like I can't do that. Like I can't, like I'm thinking so much now about this because I'm like, oh my God. And I'm getting frustrated. Just like I really don't like doing things I'm bad at. Like I just don't. That's why I don't fucking do them. But like I want to get good at this. So how to be more intentional and do the things that like I watch you do so fucking beautifully where you're like, this is my system and I worked this backwards and I did all these things. And I'm like, who has the patience to do all that? Like, I'm like, and then I'm sitting there and I'm like, fuck, like I want to do, like, a part of me is annoyed because I'm like, oh, I'm a bad fucking coach, or I'm a bad this. Not really. I'm very fucking good at my job, but like me and Steph voice note each other pretty much every day, going, oh my god, I'm so fucking good at my job. But like there's a part where I'm like, there is more tangibility in systems I can put into place that will get my clients better results from certain things. And so I'm trying to look at my systems and my structures, and it's driving me up a goddamn wall because I'm like, oh, like, I can't get this right. Like, how do I do what I do when it's what I just do? Like, it's just naturally, I have daddy energy. It's just naturally that I have this drive. It's, who wants, like, I think I said to you the other day, I was like, get a whole bunch of fucking trauma and you'll have this type of urgency. Like, it's just go fuck up your life. Like, I don't know. But it's like, no, Laura, there's actually something to it if you sit down and you look at how that was actually meticulously built. So I love that. That's what I'm working on right now, while also keeping the fact that, like, I actually intuitively just know things, and like the fact that my business is where it's at simply because I fucked around and found out, and I have no idea. Guys, I have no idea what I'm doing, and it worked. And now we're figuring out how I know what I'm doing. And so it's very fun to do that. But like, how can I keep that magic of like, my intuition is just a brilliant fucking part of me, and there's a reason why that is. And so let me figure out why I've become this type of person, these systems and these tools that you're so, the X factor, like the thing that you are so fucking good at. I am triggered by it, and I want to figure it out, and I want to like go through this process of like, how do I do this for other people on top of coloring outside the lines with my 87 coloring pencils. What about you?
Taking away the opposite of that. Literally, like, to think less about things. I think that that's like, intentionality is a double-edged sword, where like, yes, I can be very, very intentional. I can ask really fucking good questions. I can get all of the information and synthesize it. However, sometimes what happens is I think way too freaking much and have perfectionist tendencies where that keeps me from building momentum at times. And so what you're really good at is like, don't think, just choose, go. You're like, just choose it. We're doing that. Had the same realization 3 different times, and then my energy gets behind it, and Laura's just like, pick it and go, you know. And that sort of expression that creates momentum for me is something that is I'm not used to, you know. And to witness you in your magic, and that's where it's like, being in person with people is so freaking powerful, and we are very excited to be in person more. But being in person with people is so powerful because, yes, you can hear what they say and you can hear their advice of how they do something. But when you witness it in action, oh, there's a feeling that, like, for me, a feeling came into my body around, oh, that's what that looks like. Like, oh, interesting. Like, a lot of our days were spent like co-working next to each other, and we'd be working on our different projects and just witnessing how each one of us works. Like, I was like, oh, that's what that's like. Okay, now I feel that in my body. Okay, now I can replicate that and play with that. And so a huge thing for me is like, not thinking so much and going. And I have to remind myself that that's how I build momentum, you know?
Yeah.
That's how we get the intentional pieces actually out there to build visibility even more. So
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited.
so fun.
Love it.
Can't
Love
wait
it,
till
love
next
it.
time.
Yay, love it. All right. Is there any last words?
Any last words? Like, subscribe, review, and we'll send you a funny video.
Send you some, yeah, write us some reviews, y'all. Go over to Fully Alive and write a review. Give us the feedback, and then come over to Healing to Happy. Write us the review, do our things, and then
You like this?
do you like me? Do you approve? Give me my approval. Like, Daddy, give me my approval. Do you like me? Did I do a good job? How rubbish.
Oh, do you like it?
Fine, then I'll just work harder. Okay, just until I get your approval. Fine. Rate us a review, subscribe. We do these once a month. We both release podcasts once a week. And then my Instagram is @ it's Laura Patricia Martin. So ITS Laura Patricia Martin.
Mine is.
It's like long suspense. What is it?
Drum roll, please. Stephanie Elsperman. Full name, Stephanie Elsperman.
Yay. All right, chickpeas, make sure you let us know, what are you actually doing with this podcast? You know, we often listen to these things and we don't take action, and that's why you keep getting the same results. Do something wild, do something bold, go have the conversation with someone, open your heart, do the thing, and have the time of your freaking life doing it.
Yeah, baby. And get yourself into arenas where you meet people who make you grow. Love you.
Exactly.